Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Cordon, the place where every cricketer wants to be. I'm your host, Callum Junk, and thank you so much for joining me for another episode of the podcast. We are filming just moments after India won the Test match at the Oval. They won the Test match by 6 runs. Coming into day 5, there was 35 runs needed for England to win the game and to win the series. But Mohammed Siraj said, not on my watch. And he was absolutely outstanding as India took 4 wickets this morning. Obviously, a tremendous effort by Chris Woakes to come out and bat with his arm in a sling. He was going to bat left-handed. I think it's pretty fortunate for him that he didn't get to face a delivery and Atkinson was able to take all the strike. But we'll talk about some of the key moments from this morning's play or this evening's play if you're listening in Australia. And we'll talk about obviously some of the great achievements throughout the series and some of the great performances in this game. But let's talk about this morning. Jamie Smith was dismissed early, nicked off to the keeper. Strange that they went upstairs because it was a clear nick and it clearly carried. And then Mohammed Siraj really got the ball rolling. Jamie Smith, and then the wicket of Jamie Overton, I think, was probably the really critical one because it really gave India a chance to claw their way back into the game. And I think once Josh Tongue was dismissed, you thought, oh, I reckon this game's pretty well done here. There were a few moments that I was a bit nervous from an Indian point of view. Akashdeep not being on the boundary, Jarrell not having the glove off for the last ball of the over, and having a shy at the stumps and missing. Also, I thought it was so strange that on the last ball of the over, all the fielders were on the boundary. If anything, I thought they would be better off to risk a potential boundary and have everyone up right in to avoid any sort of single. So I think the scoreline of 2-2 for this series is just such a great showcase for Test cricket. Realistically, India should have won this series because they should have won that game at Lord's. And in hindsight, you probably think England overall probably should have won this game. But more often than not, if you're chasing over 350, it's going to be a pretty tough chase. So the statistics, I suppose, in this particular game were on England's side. But I definitely think India should have won the series. I think overall they played the better cricket in the series, but there were just some key moments here and there that England were able to win, particularly in that first Test match at Headingley, but obviously the nail-biter at Lord's. The Test match at Lord's was decided by 22 runs, and the Test match here was decided by 6 runs. So I was texting my friends, I was texting my dad while I was watching this game, just saying, like, how good is this? The tension, the drama, and this is why people love Test cricket, and it's just such a great advertisement for the game. And as a neutral supporter, obviously I've got opinions on English cricket, and I've got opinions on Indian cricket, but just to watch from a completely neutral perspective, I was glued to the television for the entire Test series. 5 Test matches, 5 days each, 25 days of absolutely incredible cricket to watch. Let's talk about some of the great performances in this game. Mohammed Siraj easily has to be player of the match. 9 wickets in this game. In the first innings, took 4 for 86, and today he ended up with figures of 5 for 104 off about 30 overs to get India over the line. Strange, Krishna took 8 wickets for the game, and there were some patches of the game that he was outstanding, and I thought there were other patches of the game that he was really poor. Still, 8 wickets in the game, 8 wickets for about 190 odd runs. You'd take that more often than not. Yeah, a little bit expensive at points, but I was surprised that they didn't go with Arshdeep Singh. I thought the left armour on this particular deck would have been extremely tricky for the batters to play, and I've been a big supporter of Arshdeep Singh. I think the fact that he's been able to play county for, I think it's Northampton or the North Ants, the fact that he's had that county experience, I personally would have given him the nod, considering that Christian has been a bit inconsistent in this series, but he took 8 wickets. You can't really, and they won the game. That's the most important thing. Jaswal 118 in that third innings of the match to really push India to a respectable lead, something that would give the England batters some serious challenge. If you said to me at the beginning of this tour for Jaswal to make 250s and 200s in the series, I think he would have taken that first tour of England. I think he's done really well. There's some times where he looked a little bit at sea against Jofra Archer, but Jofra Archer, when he is fit and going, is one of the best bowlers in world cricket. So, and that's part of playing the new ball in England as well. Every now and then you're going to get a good one. So, I really like what Jaswal has done in this series. Fantastic record overall against England in test matches. And to think that this kid's only the age of 22, 23 is just absolutely extraordinary. Kuranaya was able to make 57 on pretty challenging conditions on day one of this test match. He was tested. Obviously, a lot of talk and conjecture about his place in the side. Shai Sudarshan was brought in for the test match at Old Trafford, and Nair was left out of the side, but he was able to come back in lower in the order, which I think is, if he's going to play Test cricket, particularly in those type of conditions, he does need to bat a little bit lower in the order. I don't think he's the top order player. Whether India stick with him when they go back to their home conditions will be interesting to see, but who knows. Some other valuable contributions with the bat. Washington Sundar, towards the end of that third innings where they were really sort of setting up that lead for England to chase, he's able to get 53. He was able to show a bit more of an aggressive game. We saw at Manchester, he was able to play the situation really well, play for the draw, play really defensive, but we've seen why Washington Sundar can be a very good cricketer in all three formats. And I've really liked what he's been able to contribute in this series. I would have loved to have seen him bowl a bit more, if I'm being perfectly honest. But at the same time, Jadeja did not bowl that much in this game as well. And Jadeja made 53. In the top 3 run scorers for the series, which I think is fantastic for a player who's, sort of batting at that number 6, number 7 spot. And I've never been more impressed with Jadeja's batting outside of his home conditions, because I know how good of a record, I should say, he has at home. But the fact that he's been able to transfer this and play in pretty bowler-friendly conditions. Sure, the pitches in England have been a lot flatter the last few years since the introduction of Bazball. But I really like what he's been able to do. Shubman Gill a little bit quieter in this game, but considering he scored over 700 runs in the series, I think he was... Sometimes it just doesn't go your way. So those were some outstanding contributions from the Indian team. And if we look at an England point of view now, Gus Atkinson, first innings, took 5 for 33. Josh Tongue took 8 wickets for the game, including a 5-wicket haul, 5 for 125 in that third innings of the game. And then I think Tongue is someone that is going to play in Australia. I don't think he'll play a lot of games. He might play 1 or 2 games, maybe on a slightly bouncier wicket. I could see him bowling actually quite well at in Perth, of all places. Maybe Brisbane, but I wouldn't play him on some of those slightly flatter wickets in Melbourne and Sydney. But yeah, if a bouncy and lively pitch comes around, I think Josh Tongue could be very, very much a handful. Just his awkwardness in terms of his action when he's at the crease. and I suppose the unpredictability, and that's what the commentators were saying. Michael Atherton and Nasser Hussain were saying the fact he's so unpredictable, and he sprayed a few in his first spell of this game, but the way he was able to bounce back, bowl some absolute peach deliveries, get players out, get the tail out, I think that's going to be very valuable when they go to Australia. And I really like the way that Gus Atkinson had started his Test career, and to come back in against a quality attack, take 5 for 33. He'll certainly be leading that bowling attack in Australia, and I think he'll go close, providing he stays fit. I think he'll go close to playing all 5 Test matches, because I do think they need a consistent cog in that. I know they're going to change their bowling attack a lot depending on the decks that they get, and they're injury-prone fast bowlers, but they need someone to sort of lead the attack and be a consistent figure in the lineup. I do think it was quite a big disadvantage for England changing the entire seam attack. I know Chris Woakes played, but unfortunately dislocated his shoulder on day one diving in the field. And Joe Root, 105, another Test 100. Super impressive. I think he's primed for a big series down under against Australia, and hopefully for his sake, he's able to get that Australian 100 voodoo off his back. And Harry Brook, I couldn't believe how aggressive he was, just like sort of half an hour before lunch yesterday, just really took the attack to the Indian bowlers, and obviously got a life on about 20 odd when Mohammed Siraj caught him and stood on the rope, but he was able to power through and play an array of shots all around the ground, and he's just such a destructive player. So I think England would have won this game if Ben Stokes had played with the bat, but hindsight once again is a wonderful thing. I think it was a pretty tough task for Jacob Bethel to come into the side despite playing only one red ball game for the entire summer at this point. And I don't understand why you wouldn't release him to go and play some cricket, even if it was some T20 cricket here and there. I know the blast is going on in the background of this Test series, but I think it was pretty hard for him to come in with no match practice under his belt and expect him to score runs, and he looked at sea, and I think they missed his bowling option. Obviously, he wouldn't have been able to bowl in this particular game due to his injury, but I think just his leadership at points in this game was sorely missed. I didn't think Ollie Pope did a bad job, but you can certainly tell the difference between the tactics of someone like Ben Stokes and someone who hasn't captained as much in Ollie Pope. But overall, what are my thoughts on the series? I thought it was a great series for Test cricket. I think it showed the fights and the determination of this Indian side. No Rohit, no Virat, no Ashwin. I wasn't sure what I was going to get, and I think everyone in world cricket is pleasantly surprised with what we got. No one could have predicted what we were going to get from Shubman Gill. We knew he had talent, but we didn't think he would go this berserk in a series. I remember when Michael Clarke first became captain of Australia, he was a very established player in the side. He was able to just pick up the captaincy baton and run. I thought, for Gill, it might take him a little bit of time to find his feet. And obviously, tactically, I think he still has a lot of work to do as a captain, but that will come with time and experience. But you couldn't have asked any more of him with the bat. And considering that I thought his place in the side was never truly secure, considering he was dropped in Australia for the Boxing Day Test. But the way he's come back in, been really assertive with the bat. I love the way he was able to show aggression and get into the face of the opposition, particularly when it came to things with Zach Crawley and Ben Duckett wasting some time. I thought it's outstanding. The loss of Rishad Pant, I think, in this game was obviously, I think it was massive. Obviously, I don't think Jarrell provides as much as someone like Rishad Pant and the energy and the aura that Rishad Pant has. But The way he's been able to stand up with the bat in this series has been truly outstanding. Jadeja has been absolutely outstanding as well. I really like what Washington Sundar has been able to compile on this tour. He's been able to do things with the ball. He's been able to do things with the bat. I think Washington Sundar is someone who could potentially bat in India's top six and bowl some off spin. And if he's able to do that, I think in a few years' time he'll be able to properly take over that Jadeja role in this team. As Jadeja is 36. I think he's still got a couple of really good years of cricket left in him, particularly in home conditions. But really like what Washington Sundar has been able to do. I know Shai Siddharthan hasn't had the best of times at that number 3 position, but I'd really love Indian cricket to stick with him. I think he shows a lot of fight, a lot of temperament. He's got talent. You can see it in IPO. You can see it when he's played county. Look, he's fallen over. He brings his head a lot to the offside and can fall over a bit as he looks to play through the leg side. But I think that's a technical fix that the coaching staff can work with and continue to develop him. And I think when he gets more experience in these seaming conditions or in bouncy conditions where he goes to Australia and South Africa, I think the world's his oyster, and we could easily see him playing 50 to 80 test matches for India going forward. And I loved what KL Rahul was able to do in this series. He was patient. He looks elegant at the crease. I think he's got the most talent in the India side. Obviously, Gill is right up there as well, but I think KL Rahul definitely has the most talent of any Indian batter in this team. And I'm just really glad that he was able to pull it together. I've rated him for a long time, as you probably would have heard me say on other episodes about this series. But yeah, what he was able to do was absolutely extraordinary. This spot's his now to lose. I know there's a few openers in the Ranji Trophy setup who will certainly be looking to take one of those opening spots, but Jaswal's not going anywhere anytime soon, and we touched on Jaswal a little bit earlier in the episode, so I won't touch on him again. Mohammed Siraj, I think, was a very gallant effort to be able to play all 5 test matches of the series and really contribute in a meaningful way. Was able to really stand up when Bumrah wasn't playing, and I think it gives the Indian selectors and coaches hope that when Bumrah doesn't play, we do have another high-quality fast bowler who is capable of leading the attack. So India's got a nice group of fast bowlers with Akash Deep showing that his value in a couple of games in the series, but I do think that Akash Deep does need to find a little bit more consistency. For an England point of view, I think they'd be disappointed not to have won the series, clearly. I think they do have an eye on the Ashes. I think they sort of knew what they were going to get in terms of what they were sort of expecting from the likes of Zach Crawley and Ollie Pope. And those two haven't really done anything proper to cement themselves in the side. I don't think their positions are under threat right now. If they had a rough couple of first test matches in the Ashes series, then I do think their spot's in jeopardy, but I don't see this England top 6 changing. Obviously, Ben Stokes would come in place of Bethel, in my opinion. I really like what Jamie Smith was able to do. Dropped off a bit in the later test matches of the series, but the way he was able to keep and score some runs, I really like him. I think he'll bat well in Australia. But the bowling attack was something that did worry me at points for England. Ben Stokes by far was their best bowler in the series, without a shadow of a doubt. Atkinson looked good in this game. Archer looked good at Lords. I didn't think Chris Woakes was very damaging. I don't think they'd even bother taking him to Australia, if I'm being perfectly honest, unless they took him in some sort of coaching capacity and a reserve player. But I wouldn't even be bothering playing Chris Woakes in Australia. I think the likes of Joe Root and Harry Brook are prime for big summers down under. I'm really interested to see how Ben Duckett goes. I really like Ben Duckett. I think he's one of the best all-format players in the world at the moment. But yeah, I think the bowling attack looks shaky at points, and it's just a matter of finding the right combination. So if they were able to get Wood, Archer, Gus Atkinson, Cass, Tongue, Ollie Stone, potentially Sam Cook, but I don't think he would do anything down under, if I'm being perfectly honest. If you had that sort of core group of bowlers together and you were able to rotate them and keep them fresh, I think if Archer and Wood are able to play, then England do have a chance to win here. If they just sort of roll out Tongue and Cass and maybe one of those other guys and Atkinson, then I don't think they really have that much chance. So overall, I'm so glad this series happened. It's been an absolute pleasure to cover the series. I hope everyone who's been watching these videos has enjoyed the content. I'll certainly be looking to do some more videos for upcoming test matches in the future, but just wanted to say a big thank you for watching and supporting the channel. Make sure that you follow In the Cordon on all of your social media platforms and wherever you get your podcasts. And we'll see you on the next episode, guys. Cheers.